Hello friends, today we're going to be doing a spring tune-up on a Honda walk-behind lawnmower. This is the HRB216 model TXA. This one here has been sitting all winter. I just put it on full choke and gave it a couple pulls. It started on the second pull. Running a little rough. Didn't want to stay running without the choke partially on, so we're going to do a full spring tune-up on this. Change the oil, sharpen the blades, replace the spark plug, new air filter, and we're going to pull the carburetor apart and see if there's some grime and dirt in it that needs to be cleaned out. First thing I'm going to do is shut off the fuel supply valve so that no more fuel blows into the carburetor. And we're going to push down on these tabs here. This side here is broken, see. Here's the air filter, which isn't too bad. We're certainly going to change it anyway. We'll clean and shake out the pre-filter. Add a little oil on that. At least I'm pretty sure that pre-filter needs some oil. The air filter for this is the same as a Briggs & Stratton, and there's your part number for it. I'll link that in the description of the video. Also, the spark plug for it, the standard spark plug, is a NGK BPR 5ES. Some of them have 6ES in them also, but we looked it up in the spec book, and then the factory calls for the 5ES, so that's what we got. I've also got a quart of automotive grade 10W30 synthetic motor oil. I also noticed the wheels on it are totally bald. The rubber tire skins are totally bald. The shafts are kind of wore out. The bearings are wore out for the wheels. Back wheels are even worse. These are right down to the plastic liners inside, both sides. You used to be able to buy these plastic outer rubber parts here as a separate replacement item and stretch them over. I don't know if that's still the case or not, but we're going to check online to see, and I'll let you know. Now we're going to remove the bolts that hold the air cleaner base onto the carburetor, 3 10mm screws. We're going to remove the spark plug from under here, and then we'll drain the oil and take the blades off, and we'll show you each step of the way. These 3 bolts are 10mm. This one is a short one, but these 2 here are longer because they go through the carburetor into the cylinder head. So we're going to carefully take those out, set those in our tray, gently pull this off. There's going to be a breather tube on this that we'll need to disconnect. There we go. The breather tube is right there, and that goes on here. We'll clean all that up and get it back on there later. Now the carburetor has kind of fallen loose, so we can disconnect the disconnect the choke rod here, and we'll disconnect the throttle governor rod and spring back there by tilting the carburetor up and out of the way. There is a spacer block behind the carburetor with a gasket. I'm trying to work that out right now. There we go. It's got a paper gasket on the back, which is torn, and it's got a paper gasket on the front here. There's a little clip right here on the fuel line you need to compress before you can pull that line off. Now that the carburetor's off, you can see that there is, let's see, it sits in here like this. Visually it's pretty dirty, and we can clean that up with no problem. It has a 10mm drain screw on the side on an angle. That's what you use if you want to drain the fuel out for extended storage. Or if you feel like you might have some water in your gas, you can open that up and let the water out. The actual 10mm bolt on the bottom is the one you remove to take apart the carburetor bowl and have a look inside, which is what we're going to do. Nice and clean. No real debris, signs of water, rust, or anything like that in it. I mean, the carburetor itself looks really clean inside. A lot of dirt around the edges, but down in the middle there's a jet screw, or a jet assembly. We're going to take a straight bit screwdriver and we'll go right down in there, find it in the right spot, and then unscrew that fuel pickup so we can make sure none of the little nozzles or orifices in it are clogged. And that's pretty easy to do. I'll show you when we get it apart. The jet assembly is a 2-piece deal. You've got your main fuel orifice here, and that needs to be perfectly clear looking through it. It's pretty clear right now, but I can see a little bit of debris in there, so we're going to run our little wire tool through there and clean that out. And the secondary piece is this nozzle right here. It's got multiple little holes up and down the sides of it, and a couple of big holes that go all the way through at the bottom. So what we need to do is we need to visually inspect up and down the side of it. I think there's 3 on this side and 4 on this side, and they go all the way through. So there's 14 openings total around this shaft of this nozzle here. So we're going to look at each one and make sure none of those little holes are clogged up with any sort of debris, because if they are, that's going to affect the quality of your engine performance dramatically. This is the welding tip cleaner I use with these small wires, and the very smallest wire in this set is the exact right size you need to clean out these little tiny fuel pickups on the bottom. Those control the idle circuit, I believe, and let the fuel in for when it's idling. And those have to be perfectly open or else you're not going to get a good smooth idle at all. So I've been moving more toward just replacing the whole carburetors lately rather than rebuilding them. That seems to be a good strategy, because usually they're less than 20 bucks and you don't have to do all this work that I'm showing you how to do here. I'll put a link to a replacement carburetor that I've used in the past for these lawnmowers in case you want to go that route. The reassembly was just the opposite of how you took it apart. It's installed with the cleaned out jets, the new air filter, and this one clip's broke right here. Maybe down the road I'll get a replacement housing for that. We also replaced the spark plug. It uses the larger size 13/16 socket. Now we're going to tip it up on its side and change the oil. You can pump it out, you can drain it out through a little drain hole, but on these with the side dipstick on them, the easiest way by far is just to tip them up on their sides and let it drain out. It's pretty straightforward. All you need is a container, remove this, and tilt it. I usually let it set like this and drain into the pan for a few minutes. Then we'll just flip it back up and refill it. And now we've tipped it up on its side with the carburetor up in the air. We're going to take the 2 14mm bolts out that hold the 2 blades on and then sharpen them. The shiny cut side faces up toward the deck, or else you're not going to have a very good outcome when you put this back on. The thinner tapered blade goes on top and is offset a little bit, and we just hold that in place and hold it back up.